This is me, when I was 7 years old. Look at that smile. I look happy. Well, I was. Life back then felt very simple. I didn't care how I looked or what I wore, and eating my favorite chocolate brought me nothing but joy, without any second thoughts or guilt. But the most heartbreaking part about this picture is that this little carefree Weronika had no idea she would grow up to hate and hurt the older version of herself. How did this happen? Well, I still find myself asking this question sometimes. It all began when I decided to lose weight for a school trip to the swimming pool. At that time, I wasn't even deeply insecure. Sure, I was a little bit bigger, but I accepted myself. My focus was on other things, like my friends, my hobbies, my school, not my body or appearance. But that little trivial trip changed everything. I wanted to fit in, to make new friends, maybe even catch an eye of my crush, and I thought, why not make a change? At first, it was very exciting. I started doing sport just for myself to feel better, and in the beginning, even the smallest changes in my body brought me a sense of accomplishment and happiness. But everything shifted the moment I lost my best friend, my grandfather, who had always been there for me, and he was an angel, and he always made me feel so seen and so loved. And I think I was only 14 at that time. And something inside me just broke. I began obsessively count calories, convinced that I have to monitor every single thing that I eat. And if I ate something that I deemed unhealthy, I would punish myself mentally, thinking, how could you do this? You're losing all of your progress. You're fat, you're ugly, you're pathetic. And I started to punish my body too. After eating, I would over-exercise, hoping it would erase my guilt. Every day felt like a constant battle with my own reflection. I couldn't stand the way I looked. I hated my body, I hated my appearance, and eventually I hated myself. I spent so much time in front of the mirror, analyzing every inch of my body, it was almost impossible to find something that I liked. My relationship with food, body, and myself became so toxic. I wanted to have control, and if I was eating or not exercising, I thought I'm losing it. And that's how my eating disorder began. But what is it? What is it exactly? An eating disorder is a serious mental health condition that disturbs your relationship with food, body image, and self-perception. It impacts both mental and physical health, and it manifests in conditions such as anorexia, bulimia, binge eating, or other unhealthy patterns of interaction with food and body. Even when you're overeating under the stress and you see that your body is changing, it might be a sign of eating disorder. Contrary to common misconceptions, eating disorders aren't simply about wanting to look thin, nor they are a choice or a fleeting phase. There are complex conditions influenced by psychological, environmental, and social factors. In my case, it was a deep need to fit in. Growing up, I was increasingly aware of the things that set me apart, and I thought if I would be skinnier, prettier, just more acceptable, the life would be easier. Huge misconception. Then the grief came and something just in me shifted. The problems that followed weren't just external anymore. They were rooted deep within. And as I'm going to be mentioning a lot in this talk, eating disorders aren't simply about wanting to look skinny. They might seem like it, but in reality, they are deeply tied to emotional struggles and can have devastating effects. Physically, they can cause you heart problems, digestive issues, weakened bones, or even organ failure. Personally, I destroy my whole stomach. I destroy my hormones, and in general, I just weaken my whole organism in such a young age. Mentally, they come with anxiety, depression, self-isolation, and low self-esteem. There were days for me I couldn't even look myself in the mirror. I would cover the mirrors in my house so I wouldn't look at myself. It felt unbearable to face the person staring back at me, and the weight of my thoughts were so overwhelming that even the simplest task, like getting out of bed, going to school, meeting up with my friends, family, felt impossible to do. And again, eating disorders don't impact just your body and your health. They deeply impact the brain. How? Well, over the time, the brain begins to link distorted behaviors like binging, purging, restricting, with the feelings of relief, control, or even achievement. This creates a very dangerous cycle when the brain encourages the very habit that are causing harm. The emotional part of our brain, called amygdala, becomes highly reactive, increasing fear and anxiety around food and body. At the same time, the prefrontal cortex, responsible for decision-making and logic, is less active, especially when the brain is under a lot of stress. This makes it harder to change obsessive thoughts or resist urges. And the most heartbreaking and the most confusing effects of eating disorder is body image distortion. The brain may literally misinterpret how the body looks, so a person can be severely underweight and still feel too big. This isn't about vanity, this is a neurological misperception. When I look at my old photos, I look skinny. In fact, I was skinny, but in my mind, I was the biggest person alive. Of course, malnutrition worsens everything. Without proper nutrients, the brain struggles to function. Memory, concentration, and emotional stability are all affected. But, there's always a but. But the good news is that the brain is adaptable. With constant nourishment, proper health, and time, it can all begin to heal. Thoughts can change, and recovery is entirely possible. But how do you start? How do you begin? Recovery starts with one incredibly brave step, is recognizing there's a problem and admitting to yourself that something might be wrong. The next step is seeking support, because no one should go through that alone. Whether it's talking to your loved ones, joining a support group, or talking to your therapist, finding a safe place when your feelings are heard and understood can make a world of the difference. With time comes self-acceptance, the hardest part of it all, letting go of unrealistic ideals and embracing your true self. My path to health was hard, was so long because it was happening for over 10 years, and sometimes it felt impossible to follow. But with proper help, time, and strong will to love and save myself, I managed to get out. And what I want you to remember from this talk is that eating disorders are dangerous and should not be ignored. So please, if you ever notice one of the symptoms in your loved ones or in yourself, seek help, talk it out, because no one should go through that hate for our bodies and ourselves ever. Another question. How do you know if someone might have an eating disorder? Warning signs can be sudden weight changes, skipping meals, hiding food, over-exercising, feeling shame and guilt after eating, or having obsessive thoughts about food and body. If you ever notice those signs, the most important step is to approach the person with care and empathy, because we often deny the problem, and we are filled with so many negative emotions that sometimes it's just so hard to take that help. With that said, starting a gentle conversation, listening without judgment, and encouraging professional help is the best way to start. Avoid commenting on their way or appearance, even if it's a good comment. Instead, focus on their well-being and emotions. Sometimes the best way to help is just letting them know that you are here for them. In Poland and throughout the world, there are several organizations, helplines, and foundations where help is available. I put some of them on the slide next to me, so if you want to take a picture, take it now. I put some of the Polish organizations, Polish helplines, a worldwide organization like FEAST. And of course, if you have opportunity and possibility to do, you can find a good therapist in Poland here without referral, or you can always seek for a private one. It is so important to talk about stuff like that, because with this whole recovery, I came back to myself. I stopped living as if my body was the problem to be solved, and I started to treating it as the home for everything that makes me me. I started reconnecting to my heart more and listening to it more than the noise around me. I embraced my body instead of punishing it, and in that acceptance, I found freedom. Because I am more than just my body. I am my heart, my soul, my friendships, my family, my hobbies, my sad moments, my quiet moments, my laughter, and so are you. We are far more what the mirror reflects, and when we live from that truth, we're coming back to being truly, beautifully human. Thank you so much.